Alright. So this is the Scion Custom Races 2026 June tournament. And we are going to see the first match of Stassen versus Adrenaline here. It's been a hot second since I have casted, I will admit. But I will do my best to cover this. So, for anyone unfamiliar, the Scion Custom Races mod adds 3 new races to the game of the Genetron, the Zyad, and what most people tend to see with this mod, the Chiron. However, we do not have the Chiron in this matchup. So, we are looking in the main base of Stassen, who is playing Genetron. And then on the other side of the map, we have Adrenaline, who is playing as the Zyad. Now, what the Zyad are like is similar between a mix between Terran and Zerg. They have somewhat brittle units, however, they construct similarly to Terran and are able to put in a punch when they stack up their units like Marines do typically. Seems like Adrenaline is going for a cheese right out of the gate. And we're seeing from Stassen what I suspect to be a standard opener. He is not going for a wall off with his manufacturer. He is actually trying to scout. He spots the first scavenger. Does he spot the second or the third? There are 3 scavengers out on the map here. The expansion's going down for Stassen in the corner here. Seems like he's doing a standard scout into the base. He'll find just a feeding pool when he gets there. And yep, here it comes. 2 Zyad dens coming down. These are basically barrackses for the Zyad. So we're having a two den rush versus a quick expand, which is going to be a very interesting outcome. Now, Genetron does have the ability to spend some of their extra resource known as power to put their units out a little bit faster. So as a result, the base defense might actually go in favor of Stassen if the Zyadlings are slow enough on the uptake. And currently looks like he's blocking off an expansion with this ACR. He's going to get mowed down by these 3 scavengers. There we go. Goodbye, friend. A sad day when you die to 3 men with tiny pincers. And yeah, so here it is. It has now been spotted by Stassen, but 2 Zyadlings are already in production. These are similar to Marines. They have a dash that goes a short distance, and otherwise they shoot up and down, and they cost 75 minerals each. The Spitfires are coming down for Stassen right now. Seems like he might have used... No, he cannot use Overclock. Overclock is grayed out, so he is not able to put him out quickly. However, they might come out fast enough to save this expansion anyway. The expansion is coming down for Adrenaline on the other side of the map right now. And so the economy is about to catch up. He's also gone double gas. And right now we have our first engagement. So the Spitfire is coming out. These are units that only shoot down, cost 100 minerals, and pack a pretty fast punch. They have 90 HP, which is a little bit less than they used to have. There's been a few balance changes, which, by the way, this is the final balance patch for the Scion Custom Races. Once Scioncraft announced their crazy patch here, the creator decided it'd be a good time to set stuff up and kind of move on, which is fair. He has worked on this mod for about a decade, actually, which is really cool, and I've been part of this community for, I think, 8 of those years, give or take, maybe 6 on the low end. Back in the days when Jay Barino streamed this, and if you're watching this, Jay, we appreciate the work that you did streaming this game in the earlier days before Chiron even existed. Alright, so going for a more defensive move here now on Adrenaline's side. The rush didn't go as well as he had hoped, and so he is just leaving it to perish here. He's going to take that Zyadling and run away. We'll see if he can get there. Looks like the Blitzer is going to chase him down. Blitzers are I would call them most like a Dragoon. As in they are a unit that it shoots up and down and costs a little bit of gas. You could call it a stalker equivalent, I suppose. However, these guys are a bit bulkier than stalkers, so, and have a bit more niche uses, whereas a stalker I find to be a more tactical unit, blink in, blink out kind of situation. Oh, a third base coming down for Stassen right now, and he's also got the relay tower. This is both a tech structure and a support structure for him, but he's also supply blocked right now, so he better get on that fast. 3 Xayah dens coming down, and a Kazanalisk den on the other side of the map. The Kazanalisk den allows him to make a ground unit spellcaster or to progress his tech tree, so we'll figure out which adrenaline is going to choose to go for here. He's also got a mutagen chamber, no upgrades on the way, however. We check the upgrades. We got 0-0 on both sides. And I should point out at this point, we are seeing Joes, not pros, at this game right now. There are a few professional players, or at least grandmaster players in this tournament. However, I decided to start off with a bit of the lower ranked players earlier on, so that way as the tournament gets closer and closer to its conclusion, we'll see more and more skilled players. We got 3 Eroders coming out. These are long-range ground artillery units. They are single target, not splash damage. And it looks like we have +1 ground missiles coming out, so that will help with the Eroders here. And see if they can get something done here. Seems like he's going mass eroder even. No Zyadlings to join up with them, which is interesting. Because if I remember right, their special ability is to reduce armor just a little bit. On the other side of the map, we are seeing good old Macro. He's getting generators. This will help him make more power. Power is the 4th resource of Genetron, which more or less allows him to use his energy abilities more effectively. It also, every ability that Genetron has requires both power and energy to use. You can also use power to restore energy from relay towers or from processing drones. So, as a result, Genetron is strongest when it has a fortified position. And out on the map, it will burn quickly, but it will run out of ammo quickly as a result. So you need to be very mindful of your positioning as Genetron, which is why they have good scouting. Got our 6 Eroders just kind of moving around, making sure there's no funny business here. +1 ground attacks is about to finish here. And yeah, just got ourselves a good, solid macro game. And I will point out, these feeding pools, as you can see going on right here, they heal units next to them. They are like moon wells from Warcraft 3, so they are quite handy to have around. And I'm actually going to go pull out my chat here while this is going on. I have not streamed in a hot second, so don't blame me too much here. Got a small engagement going on here. Got some Zyadlings just poking at this processor. Nothing too crazy. 4th base is coming down for Stassen, and once Stassen gets going here, we are going to see some action here. Oh, 4th base coming down. 3rd and 4th coming down at the same time. Bold move, Mr. Adrenaline, taking 2 bases at once. Calibrated engines are about to finish. That is Spitfire speed, so they are going to be really zippy at this point in time. Alright. Control room. Alright, now I can see chat. Beautiful. Alright, so we got a bunch of, I almost said moonwells, feeding pools queued up. It decides against that, cancels them instead. On the other side of the map, grabbing all the gases, grabbing all the bases. Stassen is taking this pretty cautiously. He's getting his +1/+1 started up, where the current upgrades is just +1 versus calibrated engines. All right, but here we go. He made a fabricator, and we got some hornets coming out. Hornets are similar to banshees. They just shoot down, and that's it. But they also reduce armor when they do so. So in big enough numbers, hornets can queue up for a devastating attack between them and spitfires. And so he's just doing some harassment, trying to kill some workers here. Get a little bit of damage in there. These Zidlings can kill them if he's not careful, and so he's just going to move them out. Meanwhile, it's a diversion in order to hit with a bigger attack force with all these blitzers and spitfires, killing these units very effectively and charging up his units with that processor to make sure that he can go for another attack after this, as it is about to come down right here, right now. Kills the base, and both players retreat. So currently, Adrenaline has 3 bases, but mining-wise, Adrenaline is actually really hurting right now. He's only got a grand total of 10 workers on minerals. He's lost all of them in his main base. So if he doesn't make an aggressive push right now to do some counter-economy damage, this game is not going to be looking too well in his favor. Currently, Stassen has got a whole bunch of units patrolling around the map. He has 2 different patrol groups. One is going to be engaging this army here, or rather just pulling it back into base, while the other one is either going to go for a flank or kill his third. Either way, it's a good outcome for Stassen. He's got a processor flying by, so he knows where the army is. He's going to have it hook up with that second army and push into the third. Meanwhile, we got ourselves some Badgers. These are a tier 2.5 unit, as the community likes to call them. So they're not quite as strong as a battle cruiser. However, they do have some good tricks up their sleeve. The ability that they just activated makes it so their energy effectively acts as a shield, extra hit points. They won't be needing it right now because the rotors don't shoot up, and they're fighting all the blitzers, and looks like this is going to get cleaned up pretty effectively by Stassen. And Adrenaline throws out the GG, leaving game 1 to Stassen. Actually, I'm not sure if this is best of 1 or best of 3. I should know this. And that is the first game of the tournament. And so from here, if we go over to the challenge page, which realistically I should have up on the stream, but I do not. We are going to see our next match here soon. Yes, it is a best of 3. So game number 2 will start up here momentarily. This is why I realized casters do like instant replay stuff, is so that way you can talk over like the different plays in the game. But I think the main thing is I think Adrenaline going for that initial push onto the map with the double Zyad Den open proxy. He didn't have enough money to support 2 of them, and as a result, I don't think he got enough units out on the map and instead hurt his own economy. If he had done just one or did a full all-in, I think things would have gone a bit more smoothly for him. And perhaps we will see that in the next game. And I will mention that the Scion Custom Races mod is one that you can actually play with for free. All you have to do to play this mod is go to the Custom tab, go to Melee, and then there are many different things in here. Apparently you guys made many maps. But let's just take Reclamation as an example. create with mod, then Scion Custom Races. If you want to feel professional and give it to someone to review, Game Heart is the one to go, or just Custom Races mod. There's also the All Races PvP mod, I believe, which will have its own different balance updates to the Scion races and has a few others. But if you want like a more clean, small, consolidated experience, definitely go with the Scion Custom Races ones. I'll go back to my fake tournament tab. I wish there was a like a beg to join lobby button. That would make it a lot easier as a caster, because you never know if if the link will never come. All right, Ruby Rock. I'm actually not familiar with this map. But from the looks of it, you have a large main base, which is good for Genotron. Genotron, generally speaking, has fairly large structures, which means that for anyone playing Genotron, this would be a map that you would favor quite considerably. Similar to how Terran has a lot of building footprint because of add-ons. The GLHFs are thrown out, and the game begins. It is Genotron versus Zyad once again. I believe in previous tournaments, I'm not sure about this one in particular, but in previous tournaments, they made it so that way, whenever you lost a match, you were permitted to change to one of the primary races of Terran, Zerg, or Protoss. However, in this tournament, we decide, I think the decision was to have more Scion races than normal races, which makes sense, as this is kind of like the last major balance patch that the game will have, so they want to see everything clashing together as it stands. I personally love watching and playing 2v2s with the Scion Custom Races. Having 6 races makes the options and matchups a lot more interesting in my opinion, because there's a lot more different build orders you can see between teammates. Now, the scout is going to come down here for Adrenaline. He's going to see that it doesn't look too crazy here, except for the fact that, you know, there's no manufacturer. Will he realize this in the build order? That is the question. He's got his own Zyad Den coming down in his own main right now, being much safer this time. I'm like, nope. There we go. I don't remember how you do. Nope. Oh no. Pretend this says best of 3. I don't remember which button it is. You know, I have not cast it in some time. I am surprised I remember as many hotkeys as I do. All right. Wow, that's a quick relay tower. Seems like he wants to go for a fabricator proxy as well as... Oh, yep, there it is. There's the fabricator. Because the relay tower opens up more of your tech options, and so it is very useful for this kind of thing. There was an accidental pull of too many workers there for Adrenaline, but that's alright. Everything is still going down pretty well, still fully saturated in the mineral line. The Spitfire here is going to either run into the Scavenger, or the Scavenger is just going to miss him. Well, it looks like he has been spotted. There's going to be 2 dead Scavengers, which is not good at this early stage in the game. Got our wonderful friend, the Zyadling here. However, in a 1v1, the Spitfire will kill a Zyadling. Both of them walk away with about the same amount of health. Second Spitfire coming down here, though. And if that Zyadling doesn't join up with the first one here, they will not be able to focus fire as effectively. The Mole has come out now, and now this is going to be a pretty dangerous situation for Adrenaline. The Mole is like a single target siege tank. Very long range that it has here, so long as it is burrowed. The other thing that the mole can do is completely conceal itself, turn invisible basically, and then act as a radar tower for the Genotron. Either one of these is not great for the early game here. He's either going to get a lot of information or he's going to kill things. And it looks like killing things is the name of the game here for Stassen. He's sieging this expansion, and there is not a whole lot that can be done about it by Adrenaline until he gets all of those Zyadlings out. However, as he's getting Zyadlings out, more moles are coming down, and more Spitfires. They're not coming down in great quantities, however, they are building up slowly enough to make things work out. And if you see these particle effects on these mineral fields here, the macro button, because every race has one, for the Genotron is to get more minerals. And he's pulled all of his workers, Adrenaline has pulled all of his workers, and the natural expansion has in fact gone down, as I thought it might. In order to get onto the high ground, he is going to need Stassen will need a processor, which won't be too terribly difficult for him, as that is made by a processing core. And I would not be surprised if we see it soon. Currently, he's just continuing building up his main army and getting his natural base as well. Once this natural base completes, it's going to be a much more back-footed game for Adrenaline. He needs to go get some work done here. All of his Zyadlings are on hold position there, which is really unfortunate, because now they've all been killed, and it doesn't look good. He's making a small round of them. If he can get them into these feeding pools, he might be able to fight off the army in a bit of a hop, skip, and jump move, although there are Luna Mines here. Luna Mines are similar to Spider Mines, except for they can move on your command. They float in the air, and they have a timed life based on their energy. As a result, Terran can just use ghosts to counter them. Alright, pulling back very slightly here for Stassen, not going too deep. We got a grand total of, what, 7 Zyadlings? They kill the mole, but these Luna Mines are so devastating because they give both high ground vision when necessary, and they can just do a lot of damage if Adrenaline isn't very careful. Another Zyadling is going down. Does a couple shots on that torrent before going down, but ultimately Adrenaline does not see this as a winning match and drops the GG. And that means that Stassen will be moving on to the next round, round 2, which I believe is technically the quarterfinals. And with that, we are going to see Adrenaline move on to be going up against Eggs, who is a pro gamer, and so this match will be very interesting. And it looks like we are going to also see you versus Kitrion, if that matchup has not already started. Excuse me. That means for the losers bracket, we'll see Anana Selector versus Adrenaline. Oh yes, my bad. Stassen will be going up against Eggs. And so, for the time being, we are just going to be waiting for the next matchup to begin. Hello there, Sav. Good to see you. Now, in this tournament, I think we are going to see some interesting gameplay here. More, or not necessarily even directly because of the mod, but because of like the looming feeling that Blizzard is about to slash all of our workers down a peg. And so I think some of these build orders are gonna be kind of doing a Hail Mary for the end times. Which, you know, makes sense to me. The worker count going down definitely would have me playing a lot more weirdly or aggressively or greedily, whichever I think would benefit the most from keeping my workers around. Alright, so from here, I believe that our next matchup is going to be Eggs versus Stassen, as they are currently not in a match, as the other two matches are already still going. Or we could be seeing Mixu versus Adrenaline, depending on I guess whoever posts the link first. I think I'm more privy to see Eggs versus Stassen, as that is definitely going to be a action-packed game. And of our players, I will say that you, otherwise known as Sneaky Assassin, or a many bunch of other names, is typically one of the highest seeded players because he plays this game quite a lot, but he's also a GM on the Australian side of the world, and so he can put up a pretty good match against pro players, and as a result, with his knowledge of the Scion races being a bit more than what a pro player would typically have, he tends to have an advantage there. However, Eggs is still a pro player, so he is favored from more or less virtue of essentially being almost uncontested in that category. Being a pro player definitely has its advantages there, even if you aren't top 10 in the world. Though we also have Hype 1 participating in this, and if you are not aware, Hype Mono is part of the team that does StarCraft Evo, which is the StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2 mod. He does the balance patches for that stuff over there, and is part of that like total team, which is really cool. Believe it or not, I talked to the SC Evo guys a couple times when I was screwing around with making my own mods. So when it finally dropped, I was surprised that the thing that became popular was kind of the multiplayer thing, just because their main goal to start with was the campaign, but they thought it'd be fun just to kind of, once they finished making the factions, to just put out the versus mode, and then that became really popular. So they're like, let's do both, which is really fun. And if you want to see Scion Races versus StarCraft 1, that is what the All Races PvP mod is for, if you want to kind of go really crazy. There is definitely going to be some difficulties with that one, as obviously the Scion Races and the StarCraft 1 races are not really balanced to fight each other. So bear that in mind. If you play that, there might be a few hiccups, but for casual games, I think it's like completely fine and reasonable just to have a good time there. I think you might even be able to do Warcraft 3 versus Starcraft 1 and Warcraft 3 versus Scion with that mod, but don't quote me on it. It is very strange. Alright, and Stassen versus Eggs is about to begin. And it looks like we are going to see another classic GVX matchup. We are not seeing too much out of Chiron today, though I have a feeling that I know who is going to be playing Chiron in the future. It's probably you. You has a pretty good track record with Chiron. However, he is known to switch it up just to keep people from reading him a little too much. And also just for fun, because he just enjoys it. Alright, so Eggs is the Zod player in the bottom left corner with the blue pieces, and with the red pieces we have Stassen in the top right side. I believe Stassen was red in the last game, so that makes things easy. And currently, standard opener, Eggs is keeping his feeding pool close to home, so that way he can make sure that his scavengers don't get munched too badly. I believe, as well, the feeding pool, at least in the olden days, I'm not sure if it does it anymore, but if you had 3 feeding pools, they would increase the production rate of your larva making structures, such as the Zaya Den. The manufacturer is going down, so no cheese today from Stassen, at least not in game 1. And so he also went for the analysis terminal, which is essentially an engineering bay. It does +1 and 2 ground upgrades for the basic units. Then there's another structure that acts more like an armory that gets you your higher tier upgrades. You know, for your beautiful, beautiful air units. Alright, mutagen chamber wall off. Very nice. It's not a complete wall. You can slide through the minerals, I guess, with one worker. Doing a little bit of mineral harassment, nothing too crazy. On the other side of the map, we are seeing a blitzer come out. So rather than going for Spitfires first, we're seeing blitzers instead, which is very interesting. He's either trying to cover his bases, or Stassen is trying to do a quick burst with these guys on a high primary target. Blitzers have 2 things that they're good at: shooting up and moving fast, or hitting hard. They have an ability that lets them increase their movement speed for a short while, or an ability that lets the next attack they do deal significantly increased damage. So, as a result, blitzers are a bit more versatile than Spitfires, depending on what your opponent is going for. Now, it looks like on the other side of the map, we are seeing Roamers, a very classic unit from the Zyad. Now, for anyone who is unaware, the Roamer has the ability to send out a little missile that you can shoot down that lets you get information on the enemy base. So what he's going to do, he's going to poke in here, see the blitzer, might fight it a little bit, and then he's going to send in one of those to keep vision for a little bit longer after leaving, just to see what the follow-up will be. The other common trick that Zyad players will do with their little scouting missiles is to use it to get to the high ground vision and see if there's any buildings in the main base. However, because this was a quick expand, he's fairly confident he doesn't need to do that. And currently, he's also making a biomass hatchery. Now, biomass hatcheries are essentially the tier 2 unit structure for the Zyad. Similar to the Zyad Den, it produces larvae, and then you make units from that larva, again, which is why I say it's a mixture between Terran and Zerg. And he's also getting an upgrade here. The upgrade whose name I forget, but it probably involves the Kaznalisk. Or one of the other units from the biomass hatchery. But I believe that it would be for the Kasnalisk, as the Kasnalisk has some good capabilities. He's making some Farians from the Biomass Hatchery, so he wants to go for drop play. Now, the Farians are a really strong drop unit, because every drop unit has kind of like a bonus thing that they do, Medivacs heal. For the Farian, it has detection. So, for this matchup, that won't come up most likely. But against Protoss, dropping in on an enemy with the same thing that can find the DTs of defense, really good. Now, in the top left corner of the map, we have an ordnance cache coming down, which is a structure that is just for the tech. Unlocks units. So hiding this away in the corner of the map means that Stassen will be able to make certain units from his main that would not be immediately obvious to his opponent, Eggs. Eggs is going for the drop now with the Farian, right off into the main. He's loaded up with 4 Scavengers. Scavengers do extra damage to light units, so as a result, 4 of them in your mineral line is going to do some pretty hefty damage. He's putting them back in a safer position now, where they can kill more and more workers. 8 workers are going down in this one interaction, as are some Spitfires. Currently, really good trade for Eggs here. He's also sending in a couple more at the front door. I don't know if that's a miss rally or if that's an F2, but he did kill one and lose one. 4 of those Spitfires had to come back, and currently we have the triple arrows going to Eggs for the minerals. So income-wise, he is up almost by 1,000 at this point. However, the Badgers, thanks to that ordnance cache, are beginning to build up here, and weapon upgrades have completed. Currently, there are no upgrades for the ground armor or ground attacks of the Zyad player, which means that this could begin to get a little bit hairy for him, given enough time. However, +1 is about halfway finished here, so he will soon have the ability to fight off Badgers. The Badgers are in the main base now. They are fighting the Bile Pit. The Bile Pit is trying to get its work done, but the shields of the Badger, aka its energy when the ability is activated, is getting in the way. Okay, so that was a spitter that went down there. That is an artillery unit, does some splash damage. And that's what the upgrade was for, I believe, was because when they die, I think they emit like a small AoE pool of damage. With this processor here, Stassen is able to keep these Badgers' shields active, making it so their effective total hit points are closer to 400. And as long as he keeps healing them, they're gonna more or less keep it that way. However, he is almost out of energy on this processor, so real true damage to these Badgers is gonna be available relatively soon here. However, we are in a base trade at this point. During the same time, these roamers went and killed 32 workers of Stassen's. Stassen has no economy to speak of at this point. He has 2 workers left and no money to make any more. So if he doesn't get the win here soon, it's going to be over for him. Realizing this, Stassen is pulling all of his Eggs is pulling all of his workers to go kill as many units as he can and try to buy himself as much time as he can to finish off the base. However, he's only got 2 roamers remaining in this interaction. As far as the base trade goes, it is not looking very favorably for him. Fortunately for Stassen, he does have some money banked up in this manufacturer. If he can repair it, he can then cancel the unit and make a couple more. Currently, I have no idea what his power reserves are, but it's good enough to recharge that guy. Alright, using up his shields here, just peppering away at these structures here. All of the Zyad workers have gone down. So currently in the base trade, it went from favoring Eggs to favoring Stassen rather quickly here. He did get those 2 workers back onto minerals and will soon be able to rebuild his economy. 8 workers going down over here for Eggs, and eventually he decides that he cannot keep up, and leaving the first victory to Stassen. that was very cool base trade. I honestly was thinking Eggs was going to handle that game for a moment there, but the momentum of the Badgers is what ended up putting things back into Stassen's favor. The other thing about Badgers is I believe they can shoot ground and air at the same time, so that's the other thing that they have going for them. Their anti-air is not nearly as good as their anti-ground. However, when you're able to shoot both, it doesn't matter a super lot. It's just free damage. Let me check if there's any messages that I need to check. Nope. I have to make sure just because I don't know if there's anything altering in the tournament as we go. Eggs is going to White Rabbit next. Now, White Rabbit, another map that I haven't seen. I have not seen pretty much any of the new maps because I haven't been playing this game in a hot second. But it is always very fun to see the new maps and stuff coming out. If we saw new 2v2 maps, I'd be all over that. I like really weird 2v2 maps especially. Nice Wall, one of my favorites. Which, believe it or not, one of the players in this tournament, I believe Mono, had a 2v2 tournament at some point that featured that map. And it was the BTE format if you want to go find those 2v2 maps. Now, spawning in the bottom left this time is Stassen, and then switching to his main race of Zerg is Eggs. So now we are going to see ZVG, which I think is going to be very interesting here. I would say if you are a Zerg main, you are most likely to feel comfortable with Chiron the most, as Chiron has the ability to make units from their primary structure, and then you just build other buildings to augment that capability. By far and away, Chiron is probably the most mechanically interesting of the races, or at least the most involved. But the other ones are still, even if they're closer to the main races, still have a lot of their own merits. Genotron especially has seen a lot of changes over the years. Back in my day, we had these things called uploaders, which made like 2 or 3 supply for you, and they were like a universal add-on that connected itself to structures instead of structures connecting themselves to it. Very interesting those days were. It also had all your upgrades in it. But now we have a more interesting one with the power upgrades. Alright, doing a bit of mineral harass. You know, as is the usual here. I better do a control 1 here because Stassen won the first game. Alright, Natural coming down. Blitzer's coming out again. Is Stassen going for the same build twice in a row? If he is, that's a little risky. And he's boosting his economy here. There are no queens to boost the Zerg economy just yet, but 2 are on the way. So currently, very standard opening for eggs here. Just normal hatch first. Actually, I think he went... Did he go pool first? I don't think so. It's where I'm like, I wish I could check the build order history. Alright, going for a fast layer even, which makes sense here. While I don't believe blitzers are light, I know Spitfires are for sure. And so, when you have Roaches versus Spitfires, they tend to trade somewhat more favorably than a Zergling will. Zerglings do struggle against Spitfires, especially when calibrated engines comes in. Once that upgrade finishes, the Spitfires will be able to run about as quickly as a Zergling will off creep. So it's going to be a very, very touch and go, I guess, would be a term you could use. Currently, little bit of creep spread going on for eggs here, getting that roach warren in the wall for Zerg started. You know, legend has it, creep spread is much easier in that new patch. So for Zerg players who are Joes, you are either going to love or hate that. There's no in between. You will love it or you will hate it. Alright, Overlords setting up positions. Overseer going in to see what is going on for this player over here. Sending in a changeling. And he's going to see that it's, while a standard opening, it is definitely one to be concerned about because it is a Blitzer Spitfire timing attack. Processor is going to go see that's a quick layer here. But he didn't spot the Roach Warren, which is going to potentially be the saving grace here for eggs. If he can get enough roaches out before Calibrated Engines finishes and the attack begins, things should be going in his favor. I will also point out processors are detectors. And so he can do a lot of creep denial relatively early. I can't remember if it's only a detection when it's put in stationary mode or not, but I do know it can detect. Alright, roaches are coming out. Zergling is just feasting on the edge of the creep. Alright, now this is not an engagement I am going to look too favorably upon for eggs. That is a lot of dudes. They're going pew 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 pew. The roaches need to get to safety, my friends. However, because Calibrated Engines finished, that's not gonna do too great here. The queens are coming out. If the queens can keep them up there on the high ground, things will be good. Stay on the creep, my friends. Stay on the creep. As long as he's on the creep, the roaches will be able to get away more favorably from Spitfires, but the detection is getting in the way. Queen's target fire down the processor, making it so he can't deny the creep, replaces the creep tumors, and overall, I would have been dead in that situation. I would have lost every roach I was worth. Making 3 Ravagers on the backside of this, 2 Zerglings just chilling over there, and 2 Changelings going to get some information. All of the Spitfires are purring up right there. There's quite a bit of them. How many of these are there? How many of these fellers are there? I think there's like, what, about 15? Oh, I can look at the units. Well, there's 12 now, and they are dropping. The roaches are putting in a little bit of work here, but they are beginning to lose their numbers. If eggs can deny this expansion, however, things will be good for him. Unfortunately, the building did finish. Genotron buildings are more vulnerable than other races while they are constructing because they don't require workers and are somewhat bulkier than Protoss structures. And so that's the trade-off. It's gone into lockdown, so it can't be used, and the building is destroyed. So the third has been denied. Good moves for eggs here. I don't know if I would take the rest of this engagement, but it is forcing a response from his opponent. If he can tax the APM long enough to keep his macro going in the back, because 3 queens are still on the way. Third is halfway saturated. 2 gases are coming down. If he can keep this up, he will begin to win the macro game, which is exactly where you want to be as the Zerg. Got some slow Hydras out here. No upgrades for them just yet. Getting missile upgrades for the Roaches and the Hydralisks here. Killing worker after worker after worker after worker. That's going to be costly. 7 workers are dying trying to keep the Spitfires alive. Not a bad move by Stassen, but it is one that is going to cost him. Alright, we got ourselves the Virtus here. Virtus is not doing so great. It is a bulky unit, and it is able to repair itself, and it tried to do it, but it wasn't able to give itself enough bulk. Leaving game number 2 to eggs. Alright, now we're about to move on to the final best of 3 match between Stassen and eggs here. Now, let me go double check the rules here as well as the chat. Yeah, everyone is as surprised in the underdog Stassen. I mean, he's been practicing. All right, let's see. The losing player may switch to a standard race instead of a Scion, but must switch back to Scion if they win. So currently, for the best of 3, it seems like it might be in favor of Stassen in the long run, because it can't go back to eggs here. Oh, interesting. But eggs, oh, he's not, nope, he's going with Zyad. I don't know if you can switch Scion races in this tournament. That would be an interesting thing to do. Honestly, not something I hate. In main tournaments, I absolutely see why you wouldn't allow that. And I would probably lock you into one of the standard races, but with a tournament like this, I don't think it would be unreasonable to let you switch around, because you'll just be less familiar with them. It'll help you explore. And also, you know, that means that there are more matchups that you'll be able to do. I thought there's the big zoom. I was doing Control Z instead of Shift Z. All right, so top left, eggs. Bottom right, Stassen. All right, so getting our standard opener from our beautiful 12 worker start. You know, that beautiful thing that we thought we would never lose in this game that we are about to lose. Going down to 8 workers. All right. Stassen going for the typical wall off for Genetron, getting the manufacturer down, not playing too greedily this time. He wants to play safe. I'm not sure what Eggs is going to try to do. He seems to be going for his own expand first, yes. Now, fun fact, back in the old days, you actually used to be able to put your buildings on top of your scavengers. So the optimal thing to do was like get your scavenger right in the middle there and then plop it on top of yourself so no one can touch you. That wasn't deemed balanced for obvious reasons, but it was fun. All right. Macro mechanic going down for Genetron. I don't remember exactly what it's called. I think it's called like mining protocol. So getting a little bit of extra stuff here for everyone here. Doing some scouting. Normal behaviors here. Nothing too crazy. Both players want to play it safe because both players want to win. Oh, that reminds me. I need to go and do that. There we go. 1-1. I'm going to quickly pull up my chat here because I don't have an overlay for it in this stream. I should, but I have not streamed in a very long time, so forgive me. Actually, I don't think I've streamed Scion ever. I've never had the internet to do it. Fortunately, I currently do. All right. The worker has made it all the way home. The blitzer has made it all the way over here. And is going to... This is bad. Eggs is up against the blitzer. And he has none of his own ground units. Fortunately, three Zyad pools will be helpful here, giving him extra larva production. And it will also give him some healing. But he is on the back foot here. Trying to keep that worker alive. Zydlings are going for it. Zydlings need to make sure that they don't get too far out of the feeding pool range, though, or they are going to perish. On the other side of the map, Calibrated Engines has started again, which means that Eggs is going to see yet another very aggressive move from Stassen here. Just a little bit of a safer one. Once that timing attack hits, it's going to be rough. And unlike last time we had the queens to get him out of that bind, it's going to be a bit more challenging, I think, this time around. He's getting some roamers. Roamers do trade somewhat effectively, getting some mendlings as well. Mendlings are going to heal his units, similar to a queen, but not quite as strong. Between those two units, against a lot of Spitfires, it could begin to turn more favorably for him, as long as he has feeding pools as well. Between those three factors, I think he could hold this timing attack off, at the very least to keep himself in the game, if not to be able to put down some counter damage. But he definitely needs to be careful. Stassen is an absolute crazy man. He is going for the same build 3 times in a row. It is working for him, though. As they say in the pro circuit, I mean, I won, didn't I? Or at least, you know, that's what Hearthstone allegedly says that people say. Alright. Got ourselves another fairy in play here. It is loaded up with 2 roamers, 2 zidlings, 2 mendlings. So, that can actually put down some damage into the main base here. It might end up in another base race, though, because the timing attack is now! Oh, dear. All right, we got a reviler on the way, but without any units to support it, the reviler isn't going to last very long. It also needs the upgrade to make its DPS more favorable. The good news about being Zyad, though, is if this building is destroyed, the reviler will still be in production because it is a larva mechanic. The reviler is out here. Make sure you keep that alive. Keep it with the workers. Attacking groups, do not let them take it out. Keep it close to the bile pit. It is going to be a little juicy here. Workers are going down on both sides of the map. Currently, it's looking a bit more rough here. 31 workers are going down on this side. 19 are going down on the other side. All the ACRs are fighting those mendlings and zidlings, getting pit to give himself just a little bit more time to squeeze out as much damage as he can on Stassen. If he can get more mendlings to come out on this side of the map and do some cloaking here, he might be able to weed these guys out. Fortunately for him, he's got this bile pit here, which is allowing these workers on the natural to stay a little bit safer here. However, he is definitely far behind at this point. Currently, even despite all the economic damage he has done, his opponent is still outmining him, and that is a brutal position to be in. And here comes the second wave of units. These ones were bashed up by the exchange that they had with Egg's first set of units. He has to make sure he pokes and prods these guys. You don't have to worry about your Farian. They can't shoot it. He could try to do some drop plays with it, but I don't know if that would go super well. He might have thought about it for a moment, but decides against it. Now, with this huge number of Spitfires here, he's going to have to control his units very well to keep the dance going here. He's got 2 more roamers coming out. Again, roamers do extra to light units, and that's what Spitfires are. However, the natural expansion has gone down, and Eggs is now supply blocked. So currently, he is not in a fantastic position. He's trying to hold on what he can, getting more feeding pools down. You do need feeding pools in order to make bile pits. They must be close to one another. So he's more than likely going to try to get some bile pits on the high ground here. He's going to try to get some more damage done. These units are heading out from the main base, which is good for Eggs here. Killing more of these workers is the only thing he can hope to do. Kill some workers, pick up, and get out of there, just like a Terran. More buildings are going down. Eggs is going to try to retake the expansion. I don't think that's what you want to be doing. He cancels it. Currently, still picking up the fight over there. The Blitzer is going to keep fighting the Farian, but the Farian gets away. And GG is called. Almost unceremonious there, but the economic damage dealt by the timing attack from Stassen was very strong. And so the underdog, Stassen, is going to be moving on to the next round. In fact, he is going to be moving on to the semifinals even. No, quarterfinals. He's moving on to the quarterfinals. because we have the winner versus the loser in the end of this tournament, I believe. Let's see. Nope, it is yes, quarterfinals. Very good. So the next matchup here that we are going to be seeing is either going to be you versus Nicaract, which would be the game I would like to be seeing right now, or Stassen versus Ziomek. And in the losers bracket, which is a terrible term, we are either going to be seeing Eggs versus Hype 1 or Kitrion versus Mixu. So, of those matchups, the ones I would like to see is either you versus Nicaract or Kitrion versus Mixu. Now, I believe this game might have already kicked off here. Currently, looks like Hype 1 is doing pretty well here, or Han Mono, or Crooked Mono. Everyone has different names in StarCraft, you know. You're like, who are you? And you look them up on the tournament, and they have one name. You look them up in game, they have another one. You switch servers, and they have a third name. Now, from the looks of it, it seems like we are seeing a bunch of games kicking off in the European server. But the coordination is supposed to happen on the NA server, so when the next game comes up, they should come back over here, and I should hopefully be alerted that the game will be taking place on the European server, and I can swap over there myself. Yeah, it seems like you versus Nicaract has already been underway for about 6 minutes here, so don't think we'll be able to catch that one, unless we catch only the tail end of it. So we might see one of the losers bracket games here. We might see Mixu's match here, depending on how things go. But once again, it would appear that that is taking place on the European server, which makes sense. I would say roughly half of the players are EU, and then half of them are everything else. You know, got some North Americans, got some Oceanists, got some South Korean, but you know, most everyone else is Europe, which makes sense to me. In the modern day, it kind of seems like StarCraft 2 is most popular in Europe still at this point. Unless it's Evo. Evo seems to be doing quite well in Korea, which is very interesting. Yu is streaming his own game. Interesting. I believe he was streaming it to Discord, though, which would mean I would be streaming a stream that is maxed out at 720p 30 FPS. So I don't think that would be the greatest of ideas. At least visually. But yeah, this is sometimes the way of the caster. You fall in between these gaps in the casting process. Fortunately, I don't have to be the guy that had to stream. Yeah, if something appears in the lobby at this point, we've gone on long enough that I'd probably just swing into it, whatever the matchup is, wherever it is within the matchup. Seems like we have more players cruising on over to Europe. Go have my my YouTube chat spy on it for me or something. But yeah, you know, I'm glad I was not the caster that had to do Pokemon Unite like 5 years ago or something, because that poor soul, Nintendo did not know how to do that tournament at all, and they went through like one match and it broke, and then the caster had to go filibuster for about an hour, and then they had to go cut to commercial because it broke and they couldn't get it back online. I was like, man, this is terrible. That's what happens when you try to make a phone game, an esport. It doesn't go well. Use computers. You versus Nicaract is huge. Yeah, I figured we had players moving around on the servers. Join. Observe. Alright, so we have Zalmak versus Stassen here. So Zalmak I've seen around the block a few times here, so as the tournament progresses, naturally you're going to see more and more familiar faces with the mod. This is going to be the first game we are seeing with Chiron in it. Also beautiful splash art, the victory screen of the Protoss. He's even got a microphone. That's so funny. Alright, so Zalmak versus Stassen here. Alright, now the question remains is if Stassen will go for his tried and true calibrated engine timing attack. Versus Chiron, I would say that is going to be a lot more challenging than it would be with some of the other races. Zayed has some answers to it, but they do need to see it coming. Whereas with Chiron and I would say probably Protoss as well, those two races would probably handle it a bit more cleanly. Because Stalkers are good, and Chiron more or less has the ability to pivot into a lot of different things. What you're seeing here is the macro mechanic for them going out makes it so their workers speed up and they mine just a little bit quicker, whereas with Genotron, they mine a bit more efficiently. Got a converter heading out all across the map. We're going to see them smack into each other here. ACR and the boy right here. Boosh! Cold shoulder approach. Both of them are clicked on a mineral patch. Classic opening from Stassen here. Seems like he's going for the calibrated engines once again. It's been working for him. Seems like no one has seen it before. Oh, now this is beautiful. So we got one charge of Pariah created from this edifice here, and the next one started up. When Chiron was originally made, you did not actually know how many charges there were or how close they were to being finished. So this is a really fantastic quality of life change, and also a great change for the observer. Alright, so the way that Chiron works, if you are unfamiliar, is their buildings build up charges. And once they have charges, you can expend them to create units. The units are made very quickly, and that's where the money is spent as well. However, if you don't have any charges on your buildings, you can't make any units. 2 converters died. Hello, the Spitfire? No, it's an ACR. I'm guessing one died in the base, and one died making the structure. And I will say, they have to channel making structures, so that while they can do it from a distance, they cannot move while they are doing it, and if they die, it is not going to be made anymore. Alright, ACR comes back in one piece for Stassen here. Oh, he's going for the manufacturer this time. So perhaps he's going for a torrent calibrated engine push. We saw him do that once before, which isn't bad. It is pretty good at containing your opponent. We got a pulsar here. It's been changed like so many times, I don't even know what it does anymore. It doesn't do splash damage anymore, confirmed. Doing some tippy toes, little dances here. It can attack while moving, which is pretty good in the early game here. The other thing about Chiron is they can only regenerate their shields when they are next to their base. Their base creates a power field around itself, and they can only make units in that power field, and they can only regenerate shields within that power field. So the longer Chiron is out on the map, the less steam that they have, unless they have a support unit to help them out. Got 2 blitzers. They don't want to fight that. They do not want to fight that. Alright, so rather than the timing attack, in this matchup, Stassen is going for a proxy assembly array. We saw this once before. He's got the ordnance cache as well. He's going for those badgers, just like he did a couple games ago. Kills the converter. Kaboom. Splat. You're going to see an Umbra try to go and take one of them out. It is cloaked. Once it attacks, not cloaked anymore. But it doesn't need to be. And it's going to cloak itself up again momentarily, and then it might be sent in to go do more damage. Got the upgrade coming up for the Pariah here. Makes it so they can dash, I believe, or shade, or is it that they're just faster? I do not remember. No. I don't remember which unit that is for. Yep, here comes the Badger. Badgers make relatively quickly if you use overclock, which is what you saw there, that little bar above it. That is overclock. It is making the building build faster by consuming power. Essentially, you're using your 4th resource to make it go fast. Modified gate finishes, faster units, most likely. Doing a little bit of hitting here from Xiomech here. Scioncraft probably could have scrapped a little bit more with these guys, or at the very least try to put this manufacturer into lockdown. But he is currently in the economic lead. He's got 2 bases, mostly saturated, and he is coming down with a third that he is long distance mining for and continuing to build workers for until it is finished. And he's also got himself, 2 sanctums, an edifice, and then he's making 2 more edifices. Got 1 foundry to make the umbras. And then the edifice can make volts and pariahs. And I think maybe 1 other unit. Volts shoot up and down, very squishy. Kind of like a, I don't necessarily want to say like a Zergling, but because they come out in singulars, but they are squishy. All right, so we have ourselves the Badgers and 2 processors. So these guys are going to be much bulkier than they appear. The Stratus is coming down. If the Stratus finishes, it's going to do a lot of damage to these Badgers. Badgers don't have as good of anti-air, and Stratuses are an anti-air structure that is in the air. Doing some depowering here. The processors are out of position. The Badgers are going to go down real fast without them. Stasson realizes this, loses both of the Badgers. The processors survive, but unfortunately they weren't close enough to the Badgers to keep the Badgers from suffering a terrible fate. Fortunately for Stasson, you know what is also good? Moving your opponent out of position, and he comes in for the counterattack from behind, and 19 workers are killed in the aftermath. Every single one of those units will die. But unfortunately, that also means that as far as the units lost tab goes, it is against Stasson here. Stasson has lost a lot of money, and he doesn't have his 3rd base yet. It is about to finish here, but he is currently economically behind. But technologically, he's actually ahead. Because he has Badgers, and he has the assembly array, he is technically ahead of where Scioncraft is currently. Scioncraft, however, is going to continue producing sanctums. He wants to kill these ground units, and he wants to kill them fast. If he can kill the workers and keep his opponent from getting off the ground, I think that is his major strategy here. Is to make sure that as long as he can fight the workers and keep the workers from getting it out of control, he will be able to control the game through economic advantage. He just misses the proxy here, so he hasn't found the assembly array yet. +2 is coming up for the Badgers, and +2 Badgers versus 0 ground armor upgrades is going to hurt. They attack rather quickly, and because of that, those upgrades mean quite a bit. Got some cataracts. These men had different names back in my day. I don't remember what it was, but they were definitely not called cataracts. But they are an anti-air unit, I know that much, and they are a pretty darn good one at that. Getting enough of these guys will definitely be able to help with the Badgers. However, because of how many Badgers that he is going to face, Scioncraft is probably going to need at least 8 of them. Or 6 extra volts. That also will augment quite nicely into it. Has he finished the upgrade for them? No. Volts have an upgrade that allows their shots to bounce, similar to a Mutalisk. Ground upgrade 1 is about to finish for the Genotron player as well. Scioncraft is on +1 himself, so this game is about to hit. This timing attack is going to be brutal. As soon as those air upgrades finish, which it has, this is going to be pretty nasty because 0-0 for the armor upgrades, 0 shield, 0 armor is what I mean by that. It's going to mean that these units are going to hurt quite a bit for Scioncraft here. He's fighting a bunch of fixtures here. Fixtures do splash damage, and they do fix things. So because of that, it is going to be a much more challenging task here to stay on top of. If he stays within his power fields, he will be able to regenerate shields within them, and he can use that ability there, which will also repair his units very slowly, giving him a bigger defender's advantage, which he's going to take full advantage of and kill 1, maybe 2, yes, 2 Badgers in the process. Resources lost is currently against Scioncraft's favor here, and the players have leveled out their economy. His advantage here is gone. He might be able to kill a 3rd Badger here, And he just barely gets it off. He probably wants to pull back after that, though. All right, he's getting the range upgrade for his cataracts here. I believe that is what that is. If I remember my symbols correctly, he's also making his first set of air units here. He, at some point, created an Empyrean, and he now is able to make the slow anti-air, anti-ground unit, similar to a Void Ray. However, when it goes slower, I believe it is anti-air only, but it is also, rather than doing more damage, I believe it is bulkier. But don't quote me on it. I don't remember completely. Now, he is a macro fiend, Xiaomac. He is continuing to build Edifice, and to be fair, that makes sense, because when you are playing Chiron, the only way to increase your supply is to make production structures. Your production structures are your supply structures, and as a result, trying to choke out production against a Chiron player is almost a fool's errand. You would have to kill all of their buildings to do it. Alright, Badgers continuing to be boosted out here by Stassen. Currently, the Ball of Death is beginning to form here. He's even got himself some Insiders here. Insiders will be pretty darn good against those groups of Volts. Splash damage against light units. You know how it goes. He's also got some Vertices. These guys will be able to tank those ground unit shots. They have a heavy cannon, and they have the ability to repair themselves. Alright, so the engagement is about to go down here. Our friends over here, the Chiron, are going to go out of position, though, being pulled away by a small attack force. This seems to be Stassen's classic move here. Send in an attack force to attack a worker line to force a response, and then attack with a much bigger, scarier force on a different base. Ooh! Oh, so many units! Exalted Shield is coming up here. I believe that gives 25 extra shields to a unit. I don't remember which one. And without fighting in his power field, he is definitely going to be feeling the damage here, but he doesn't want to get too close to a power field because his own workers will be in danger if he does. Killing a Badger, killing the Virtus. He's going to chase this away. However, losing his economic advantage in the process. If Xiaomac does not do something to get control over the situation, Stassen is going to eventually become far more ahead in terms of unit count and tech. Already, he's about to get +3. Dampener is about to finish here. I don't even remember what Dampener does. I don't even know what unit it is for. It is for the Pulsar. Whatever it does, it is finished. The Pulsar is a bit better. Now, the thing here for Xiaomac is currently it is 50 workers against 83. There are so many more workers in favor of Stassen. However, Stassen is idling a few workers as he's mined out a base and a half. And he's got a bit more on the third there. So, while the income is in his favor, it should be actually more in his favor, which might be a saving grace for Xiaomac in the long run here. But Xiaomac, realizing the situation, has tapped a GG. Alright, and then I'll go and see if we are doing more games of this, or if that was the last one here. Whoever won this is going to be going up against you in the semifinals, though. So, whether that was game 3, or the best, or rather the end of the best of 2, I do not know. I do not see Stassen. Oh, there he is. Beautiful, beautiful. Was it game 1 or game 2? I do not know. Wait, I don't want to be fighting you. That is... Get him in here. Yeah, get me out of here.
Who would win, me or Xiomec? Let's see. I'm like what, 2.7k or something, going up against Xiomec, who, you know, he's just Grandmaster and stuff. So, you know, hypothetically, like 1,000 MMR above me, maybe 2, probably 2. All right, so Xiomec is switching to Protoss. All right, so it is going to be Protoss versus Genetron. I think in this tournament, the thing that you want the most is to win your first game. Because if Stassen loses this matchup, he could pivot over to his main primary race. However, Stassen plays enough Scion that I'm pretty sure that his main race might actually just be a Scion race. A good long while ago, my main, I believe, was Xiad. But in times past that point, I have switched my tune to play everything equally badly. Alright, got a gateway coming down here. So, gateway first is the opener of choice here for Xiomec. Manufacturer coming down here for Stassen. Once again, playing it safe, not going for a cheese here, or if he is, he's going to be going for his classic fake cheese, where you look like a macro game until about the 3-minute mark, and then you proxy an assembly array. Alright, here comes the probe. Gonna go scout out, normal business here. Got 2 of your nodes going up here, filtering plant, processing node. Everything is normal for now. But until the 3-minute mark, Cybercore going down, a little bit delayed. But overall, not too shabby. Double gas opener for Xiomec here with Protoss. So probably going to be going into Immortals is my guess. And for our Genetron player, we got Blitzers coming down and Processing Core. So no proxy currently. Wow, immediately goes for the overcharge just to try to kill that worker. Here he comes. There he goes. Overcharge got him. Those big, powerful punches. Alright, chronoing out a Adept here. As I said, every race has their macro mechanic. Chrono Boost is Protoss's. I do enjoy that in StarCraft, that every race has its own macro mechanic. To me, it's just one of those like fun, like asymmetry things where everyone has something to boost their economy, but they all have different ways of doing it. Alright, Adept shading across the map, trying to chase down that ACR, or perhaps just doesn't even know it's there. Warp Gate is coming down here. For those of you who don't know, Warp Gate is about to change, so enjoy it while it lasts. Because in the future, Warp Gate is going to cost you 50-50 per Warp Gate, which is... Alright, the Blitzers use their overdrive, and so they're just going to catch up to the Adept and kill it at the cost of spending some of their power. They will regenerate their energy very slowly here, but the question is, how much power is available here for Stassen? And the answer is, I have no idea. Because normally I can see it with a blue bar if he spent some, but I can't see that, so I have no idea. Nope, can't see it, which is very interesting. It might have been changed the way that power works in displays, because before, a ghost could actually like run up to your main base, EMP it, and kill one of your resources. A resource you passively generated, but it was still He still put his hands in your bank account and took something out. Calibrated Engines is about to finish. So, our classic timing attack from Stassen is going to be coming down here. Probably going to get a couple more Spitfires and F2 them across. Nope, he's going to leave them at home. Fair is fair. Got a couple blitzers here. Is he going to try to meet up with the rest of the army? Or is he going to try to pull in a different direction and hit from behind in a flank? Got a big group of stalkers here. Got a shield battery. Shield battery is going to help out quite a bit here. I think he's going to hold out against it. As I said before, of the races that fight against the calibrated engine rush, I did say that Protoss I thought would handle it the best. Seems like he's having a bit of trouble here. Getting away from that shield battery is really beginning to cost him a bit. But it seems like he'll be able to clean it up. He did lose 9 workers, though, which is not a small amount. Fortunately, he is going to be able to clean up these units here. Those stalkers don't do extra damage to light units, which is a little unfortunate. Saved one of them by just holding him in the transport. Gonna get a free kill here. You love your free kills. Got some more Spitfires going out onto the map. If Scioncraft leaves the base in the wrong direction, that could be terrible for him. If he leaves the base in the correct way, it would actually be massive for him. They're gonna pull back. Neither one's gonna spot each other. Until now. Killing a bunch of units here. Observer chilling out here as we recall from the last balance patch. Remember that observers have more limited range, but when they deploy to get larger range, they can be seen. So they're not as good as they used to be. He's going to go and kill this fabricator if Stassen doesn't cancel it. Yep. Because again, while those buildings are building, they take 50% extra damage. It is not an insignificant amount. Alright. Scioncraft is deciding to go for brawling with all of these units here. Every last one of these units will be fought. And Stassen puts out the GG. The Stalkers did too much damage in that final push, leaving a 1-1 here for the set of best of 3. Unless I missed game 1, in which case it might be over. But so far, so good. The winner of this matchup will be going up against you. But as I said before, currently in this tournament, you really, really, really want to win that first game, because if you lose the second game, you can just pivot into your stronger race. But if you lose the first game, you will win the second, but then you're back to a weaker race for the third one. Alright, we'll see how this best of 3 ends here. Let's see, how is the chat? Yep, Yu is in here because he has wants to see his opponents. Ah, interesting. So with Genotron, the observer replay interface can observe it, but because I'm using the 2024 one, I will not be seeing it. Very interesting. I'll have to change the interface in the future. Assuming 1, I remember after this match, and number 2, if I even have time to cast after this. Alright, so currently we are seeing, let me go set the numbers up here. There we go, 1-1 here. Stassen and Xiaomech both have one win here. It is Chiron versus Genetron. Now, as a result, again, for Xiaomech, he is potentially on the back foot here. Without being able to use Protoss in this final match here, that might be a deciding factor, because Stassen has proven that even when he loses, he goes for Genetron. He is most comfortable with Genetron, which in this tournament is going to be a big advantage. But perhaps Xiaomech might go for a sneaky, tricky play here. In this scenario, I would not hate the player on the back foot going for some kind of a aggressive or cheesy play, because you gotta, if you know you can't win in a macro game from game one with the off race, you might be able to win if you slight your opponent somewhat. Currently, standard opener for Stassen here, analysis terminal manufacturer. We're going to see which version it takes up. Currently, it is a expansion. Double manufacturer here, so probably calibrated engine rush. Got the gas down, 3-on-1 gas. So that would be my guess. If you wanted to refine the build order, I might advise only 2 workers here if the only goal is to get the 1 upgrade. But nope, he's going for blitzers, so I take it back. Because, yeah, blitzers take 25 gas. So if you are not, in fact, trying to save up for 100 gas, you need all hands on deck. Volts are coming down. Volts are not going to do particularly well against Spitfires, I will say that much. Currently, I think it is going to be challenging here, though it seems like we're going to see blitzers coming out here. It might be Stassen trying to blind counter pulsars. Pulsars are a bit bulkier, and blitzers do well against them. So, it is possible. He's trying to get rid of those guys. Because pulsars do attack while moving, and they would be outsped by the blitzers, and they would be outgunned by the blitzers. So, if we see too many pulsars here, it might be bad. Umbras would be in a similar boat, which seems to be what Xiaomech is going for here. So, we will see if my prediction about the blitzers in that matchup will go well. Currently, the 2 of them find an army of 8 or 7 units, and they say there are 2 of us and 7 of them. More stuff beats less stuff. I'm out of here. Overdrive. We need this beautiful interface here to show power. That'd be nice. Oh, he's going for a triple expand. He's playing for the greed. He's got his Umbra out here. We got 6 blitzers chilling at home, though. And here they go. Uncontested. Should be a quick warp in here. 1 pulsar I don't think is going to cut it. Maybe it will. Well, he is getting healed here. Yep, defender's advantage. Very nicely done. Xiaomech clearly knows the matchup. He knows that 1 pulsar can in fact chase away 2 blitzers so long as you're within the power field. He decided to pull back. Fighting 6 blitzers of the opponent outside of a power field is not something you want to do with 4 squishy units and 3 somewhat bulky units. Currently, the macro engine of the Chiron is beginning to come up here. Edifice after edifice going down. Foundry also as well to get some Umbras in here to do some big damage in a small burst. He might go for some drop play as well. Drop plays would not be remiss here. We have ourselves the 3rd base coming down here for Stassen. It will come after Xiaomech, so they are going to be roughly on equal terms here. It is spotted by Xiaomech, using an Umbra. Umbras are not bad scouts. They are a little scary to use against Genetron, though, because Genetron, with those processors, can spot them like an overlord in StarCraft 1. So we will see how this goes. Upgrade is about to finish of +1 for the Chiron here. It's already been finished for the Genetron, however. Fixers and a buttload of blitzers here. I think there's 16 in total. Oh my goodness. That's probably a few at home in that count, though. Unless he gets, yep, get those that thing up, you're gonna need it. Loses an Umbra. Unfortunately, it was positioned on the other side of the opponent. Once the heals are gonna run out here from the main base, though, he's gonna have to take a tricky fight here, Xiaomech. All right, making a reliquary currently, trying to get himself a spellcaster out here. The spellcaster has a basically old school size storm, as in, you know, the one that wasn't I last forever but do no damage. Taking a fight here. Fixers are really putting in the work here for these blitzers. You don't need very many of them to have a big effect. They do cost power, so the resource drain on them for that fourth resource of Genetrons is bigger than you might expect. However, if they win the fight for you, you don't have to really worry about it. And he's going to pull back to base as he is out of energy and needs to recharge his processor, which will take up some more of his power. Puts down a mole to make sure that he isn't followed. Not a bad play. Currently, third base is saturated. For both players even. Even worker count. But unfortunately, the supply is still in favor of Stassen. Generators are finishing up here, so generators are going to give him more power, so that fourth resource of his is going to become less and less of a problem as time progresses. Currently, sitting prettily on those tier 2 ground units. For both players, even. There we have the Crux, that's the spellcaster I was talking about before. Doesn't have enough for one of those Psystorm-like effects, and it is not finished being researched either. However, it can act as a detector in a pinch if necessary. Convergence is about finished. That's the Psystorm, hence why it looks like Psystorm. Alright, Pariah giving his life for information. +2 is going to finish up here. We have ourselves one of these buildings coming down here. I don't remember what it's called. I wish I could click on it to see it, but I have to do it. Atrium. It is hard to remember the name. The Atrium allows the construction of a unit that has more DPS the closer an enemy unit is to it, though. So, given how close these units have to get, namely the Fixers or the Blitzers, not a bad unit to have. And it has range that will allow it to fight with moles a little bit as well, but be in a safer position. Overall, very useful unit to have. 12! What happened? How did worker die? I don't know. Run by happened, I guess. Xiaomech has fooled everyone. He has gone for the secret run by. 13 workers have gone down on the other side of the map. I don't even know where. And he's going to go chase down these blitzers a little bit. He needs to get some damage done. Don't go too deep, however. Don't get killed by those moles. Alright, he's going to back off. He doesn't lose too much right now. Resources lost is still against Stassen, or Xiaomech by a fairly significant margin, however. Worker count still about even. Stassen with the unit lead, though. The supply is in his favor. Xiaomech is slowly beginning to outmine his opponent, though. However, both of them are getting a fourth base at the same time. Xiaomech is marginally ahead, but if he does not kill one of these bases, he's not going to stay ahead. Scouting Mole has been deployed and burrowed, so unless Xiaomech flushes them out, it is going to be a bit more difficult for him to do run-bys and things, And Stassen probably put him down because of that run by. Umbra's gonna come over, gonna kill that guy. Very, very small skirmish right there. Gonna be spotted by Stassen here, walking into that mole range. So, not a massive reaction from Stassen, however. Aquila comes out, throws a grenade. Aquilas are a bit like a ghost. Inducer is here. That's the unit that does more DPS the closer you are to it. Gonna do some pelting against this interdictor. Interdictors are anti-air structures. They're just missile turrets, so not that big of a deal. Fixtures are out in front. This is good. This is good. Gets a little bit of a blast. Kills the fixture. This means that the units are going to be a lot less bulky than they were before. Got some of our favorite friends, the Teslas, coming out, putting down some shock charges. 12 workers going down. Meanwhile, roundabout trip on the other side. 19 workers have gone down on the other side of the map, however. So, workers are in the lead for Xiaomech currently. However, no one is mining because the base is about to be destroyed, and that is going to set him back economically. So currently, in the lead economically, finally, is Stassen. He has taken the lead in the economy game here. Xiaomech is also sitting right within the mole's radar range, which is not good for him, unbeknownst to him. Now, the good thing about moles, though, if you make air units, moles do not spot air units in their radar range. Only within their vision range can they spot them. Alright, here it comes. Is he going to try to kill that mole? I would try to kill that mole while it's low. Alright, shock charges doing their thing. I believe you can attack shock charges manually to run their energy out faster. But currently, Xiaomech keeping it safe. Currently, if he gets a bit more supply, he will be in the lead for this fight here. Currently, fighting inside of a shock charges is pretty rough for him. Those do damage over time. They were the Psy Storm before Psy Storm was changed, and that extra damage that they piled on is going to do its job here. However, he is just barely able to take this fight and force Stassen to retreat. If he's lucky, he might even be able to kill that Tesla on the right. And he does. So that's a good spellcaster for Stassen out of the way. Get yourself back home before you're murdered. Nope, show up with more friends. He's going for it. I think Xiaomech knows that he needs to get some extra economic damage down on his opponent before it gets too out of hand. Currently, the supply is more army for Stassen, more workers for Xiaomech. Xiaomech has managed to reclaim the worker counts here. However, he is still waiting for them to transfer. Yep, there they are. Main bases have mined out for both players. So, effectively, Stassen is actually on about 2.5 bases, whereas Xiaomech is on roughly 3 bases of economy. So Xiaomech is currently in the lead here. Both players are going to have to do something risky here and start pushing to these outer lying bases. We're coming closer and closer to the game where you got to go and take these risky mineral fields in the middle of the map. The macro game is beginning to reach its final form. At this point, +3 upgrades are about to finish for the Genotron, which is going to put him in the lead for the ground damage game here. He's also got the ground armor upgrades. I believe biological armor has been researched on Xiaomech's end. Chiron is split into 2 pieces, mechanical and biological. Basically, if we zoom in on our unit and they have squishy bits, like this man here, the Crux, he's biological. And if you zoom in and you don't see squishy bits, like the Myriad, they are not biological. Which means that he has armor for the Crux, not for the Myriad. Currently, Umbras are just chilling, waiting for that army to pass, and they're gonna go in and kill this base. Or, He might just be holding on for something else. Currently, myriads are coming over. Myriads are basically ground carriers, so as far as tier 3 engagements go, you want myriads. They're little interceptor-like friends. They do a little bit of splash damage, I believe, and they kind of pack a punch. But that 4th base of Xiaomex is going down. He needs to get those workers out of there. He's going to go ahead and take this engagement. The downside of myriads is that they aren't very fast. However, there is an air unit called the Aperture that can teleport them across the map if needed. Going to take this fight here. We got some splash damage coming down on both sides. We got the convergences going down. We got the Teslas going down. And so far, it is a win for the Chiron player. But not by a significant margin. Titans have come out. They're basically the big daddy boys of the Pulsar. They have longer range beams and can also attack while moving. We also had the engagement from the Umbras here. So any base defenses were cleaned up by them. And then the most devastating move of all is the nukes have come out. From the Olympus, the Genotron player can call out a strike to more or less almost always just force their opponent to have to evacuate a base occasionally. It costs 2,000 power, however. So in order to support this, Stassen has created, if I can find where the structures are, he's created 12 generators to make sure he can keep up with this, on top of his nodes. 16 nodes, 12 generators to try to keep up with that. If we can find the Olympus, it's probably around here somewhere. An engagement's about to go down here. 2 Olympuses, actually. So, if Xiaomet can destroy these will explode. And they do damage to units nearby when they explode after about 5 seconds. Another nuke is going down here. So, gotta get out of the way. Processors are great at spotting for it. Currently, fight's going well in hand for Stassen here because the moles are doing their job. All right. Got ourselves a busted up repulsor here. Good for Xiomech here. Small run by. Gonna kill a couple of units. Let's look at the units lost tab. It's beginning to even out. More units lost for Xiomech. However, the resources is beginning to slowly swing in his favor. He's catching up very slowly. If he can keep this fourth mining base, or in this case, I think it will be essentially the second mining base for Stassen out of the way, he will be able to take lead in the economy and keep it. It was rough for him in those first big ball engagements, but now we're going to see a bit of a base race here, I think. Without these mining bases, this Genotron army has to be the difference maker. He's going to try and throw down a nuke here from the Olympus to try to slow down Xiomech. However, I think he's only going to serve to destroy his own workers here. Alright. Mined out base is evacuated, which is a bit of unfortunate for Stassen because he didn't do as much economic damage as he was probably hoping for. He is going to take out this base. That is the economic damage he's going for. However, backup units come in for it. Heals are going off on these workers, making them harder to kill. We've got a bunch of shock charges coming down. Xiomech's going to run straight through them. The Olympus is going to take a shot. It might kill the Myriad here, but every unit gets out just in time. We're going to lose a couple workers here. Long distance mining for Stassen. He has one set of minerals left. Only 8 workers can even mine it. He's going to try to defend it with his Olympus. However, once again, that long distance mining is going to probably kill a couple more of his own workers. Alright, Olympus are going down. He's had enough of these things. Xiomech is going to blow them up. Yep, takes a hit there. He's going to take another hit. Not good. So he's going to be forced to retreat by taking those out. However, fortunately, seem to have done what he needed to do. His units have been slowed over here, but he is able to put up a good fight against the Aquilas. Those little bombs that they throw, that's what slows down the units. But cleaned up pretty effectively. Economic damage-wise, Xialmac has taken significantly less, and Stassen, realizing that he can no longer fight this without an army, puts down the GG, which makes Xialmac going on to fight you in the semifinals. So, very well done by Stassen in this run. We have been following him basically the entire time. Hello, game. Will you load? Yes. We will head back over to the US server here. And go to my my poor man's poor man's tournament screen. And so the games that we are going to see is Xialmac versus Mixu, and then we will see the victor of that match going up against Eggs in the losers bracket semifinals, while you and Stassen will continue their run through the semifinals here. However, I have been streaming this for a few hours now, and my voice is beginning to hurt. So, and it's also about the time that I need to close out the stream anyway. So, for the semifinals and finals, if you want to go catch those games, keep your eyes out on a YouTube channel called LEX Gaming. ELLEIX Gaming. Spelled like this. And I will let him know that I did not get to cast the semifinals and finals, so you can go watch those there when he gets his hands on the replays and can cast them over on his channel. But that will be it for me. Thank you for coming out to this stream here. I had a good time streaming this. This was a lot of fun. And hope you guys had fun watching this stream for these 2 hours here. And I will see you later? Question mark? I have no idea. We'll see if I can do this a second time. But goodbye for now.